so why don't we do a quick check-in? We'll go around. You don't have to say much. You can pass if you really want to. But where are you at? Where are you at right now? We'll go this way. I don't know. That's okay. That's a good. Okay. All right. That's fair.
Transitioning from summer to fall. Enjoy.
Yes. Slowing down in autumn. That's nice.
Yeah, me, I'm in a really happy place now because the book has really helped me in coming here. It's like kind of, it's changed my life actually. The way I look at things, the way I look at things, like things that were always so boring, I could just slow down and just be there and not take my feeling about things.
Just to be there with.
But I mean, I can't do it 100%. Like today, I had a meltdown at I had to take my elderly relative somewhere, and I had a vet appointment, and there was traffic, and I thought I was going to be late, and I kind of had a meltdown, and I was embarrassed afterward. I was like, it's not working 100%, but it's helpful.
Well, you know, and that, I'm going to get back to that. It's not working 100%. If I forget, just remind me. I'm going to get right to that, but I want to just get around first. And Haresh, if you're out there, write something about where you're at, and I'll read it.
In a good place. I try to be more intentional of my mind.
Right. Good.
Well, today I felt very happy, and I felt like I'm not thinking about everything that always comes around, and I just let it go. I feel free, and that's where my happiness came. Like I just felt happy after I'm like, why am I thinking? And then I let it go, and I'm like, then I had this like,
the ease of not thinking.
and it was just like, it's just that easy.
Right.
Sometimes it was just that
Right.
easy. It's just like, why am I keep thinking of the same things? Sometimes you feel guilty doing that.
Right.
I think it just thoughts always keep coming, the same repetitive ones keep coming, and you just so used to thinking. And today I was just like, I let it go. And then it was just like, and then I was like, yes.
Keep this. Yeah, that's where the problem comes.
Yeah.
That's more that we could talk about.
Yeah.
Hi.
I'm Elaine.
Nice to meet you.
I've done this before,
Great.
but I never can hold on to it. I always I try, and then my mind goes. And I did my candles, and I did my meditating, and I'm always out there. So I figured I'd try again.
Right.
I'm going through a little grief period. I had lost my husband. So I'm trying to get a little bit of normalcy. I'm busy. I'm keeping busy, but I just want to give me some comfort. Meditating, mindfulness. I even had a tape I played, and that's the phrase Akadi. But I played the tape over and over. I used to. I want to get it again, but I just figured I'd try it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you made it. Let's see if Haresh said anything. Feeling not good enough. Feeling like an imposter and noticing fear of people finding it out. Interesting. Thank you, Haresh. All right, so we're all somewhere, and it's always changing. Oh yeah, me. I forgot about me. You know, I feel good when I get to do this stuff. This is my life. This practice has changed my life. Changed it in one sense. In another sense, my life's exactly the same, right? I still have the same stuff. I still, have the same problems like you guys. I haven't transcended humanity yet. That's not the point. But I'm okay, and I have this path. I have this practice where I can wake up every day with the intention of, like, how am I going to meet my life? Like, I don't have the intention of, how can I feel good today? How can things go according to plan? How is this all going to work out? Yes, I have a plan for my day. I know where I want to go and what I want to do. But I always leave room for life to surprise me, because I never know what's going to happen and what out in the world I'm going to meet, what kind of stuff in my head, in my emotional world, in my body I'm going to meet. So I'm just grateful that I have this practice where I can meet anything. At least I feel like I can. That doesn't mean, so getting to back to you, doesn't mean I still don't yell at people or get caught in patterns or, mind states or moods. I don't think we ever get 100% free. And I don't think that's, if it's a goal, it's a loosely held goal. If that makes sense. We're not trying to be perfect. We're trying to embrace what's true. And what's true is right now. So whether it's grief, whether it's feeling, not good enough, whether it's feeling pretty good, whether it's feeling like I don't know how I'm feeling right now, whatever it is you're feeling, to be right there with it. And I just took a 4-week course called Courageous Intimacy. And I love that because I think that's the direction of our practice. It's not about, and when you say 100%, what are we actually saying by that? Or when we say it's working, what are we saying in our head really? I'm feeling the way I think I should, and I want to keep that. But what's the problem? Is that it doesn't last. Nothing lasts. So getting attached to calm, getting attached to ease and happiness and all those good stuff, bliss, and that can cause a problem. I'm not saying it's a problem to feel those things, but when it's like, I need this or else, there's that neurotic quality. That's when a lot of extra unnecessary suffering can happen. And something lately that I've really been teaching a lot and appreciating is the freedom that we all have to just be with things as they are at any time. So, we're all feeling something differently right now. And it's every day we're all feeling different things and coming across different situations. But at any moment, you can just pause and be with whatever it is. And it's such a radical thing. It's simple. Like you said, simple doesn't mean easy. So it is simple. Just be there. What's the other? But of course, we are habituated and we grasp on so much to our ways of escaping and our memories, our desires, our longings. We get involved with all of it, and it just shrinks our world. But the fact is, at any given moment, you can just pause and be with whatever it is. So if it's a moment of grief, you can pause. You can feel the heaviness in the chest or the tears rolling out or just sinking whole feeling. And you could just say, grief is like this. And it sounds so almost stupid, like, oh, Mark, wow, of course. But to consciously go into it without resisting it, without thinking it's wrong, without thinking it's supposed to be some other way, without any aversion, but just honoring it, because that's what's true. That's what's true in your heart now, and for good reason. And I remember when my grandmother lost my grandfather, so many people after a year or so were saying, oh, you should be over it by now, you should be this or that. And I told my grandma, F those people. Don't let them tell you. You love this person more than anything in the world. You lived with them for, I forget how long they were married, a long, long time. That's not going to go away. And it shouldn't go away. And the way I explain grief to people is like, we hope that the grief, if you imagine it like being this big, we hope that over time, it'll shrink and go away. But that's not the reality. I think the grief stays the way it is. But our sense of self can get bigger and bigger. So does that make sense? Like, you think of like, if I take a handful of salt and I put it in a small glass of water and mix it and I drink it, it's disgusting. But if I take that same handful of salt and I throw it into a lake, assuming I can drink from that lake, and I drink from it, you don't even taste it. It's the same handful of salt. It's just the container that's receiving it. It can expand. And that's with our practice. We learn to rest in this very open, spacious awareness, not to fix things, not to feel a certain way, but again, to honor what's true, to have this courageous intimacy. Why is it courageous? Because it sucks sometimes and it feels really bad. And we'd rather it not be that way. But sometimes it is that way and it is really unpleasant and it is overwhelming. So it takes courage to say, I'm going to sit with this. And again, depending on the trauma, right, or the way we're experiencing it, it might have to be in little bits. Maybe it's like, all right, I'm going to, for example, grief, like I'm going to allow myself to cry and feel this for 10 minutes. And then I'm going to go distract myself and watch TV or something. You know, you don't want to just sit there all day and drown in it. It's very different than consciously allowing it and just appreciating, in a sense, that, ooh, grief is like this. And this is really the hardest thing for me to teach people, is that, like, you can consciously go into your suffering. And then there's a lot you can learn out of that. But we don't want to hear that. We want to hear, like, what's the magic pill? What's the magic mantra? You know, or the whatever. Like, how can I set it up so this stuff just goes away because I don't want to deal with it? But the reality is that contraction around, like, that aversion, that you know, contraction around what's already uncomfortable is making it a whole lot worse. It's making it stick around longer. And usually we have very unskillful or unwholesome ways of dealing with it, trying to get that temporary relief, whether it's drinking, you know, pills, you know, numbing out in other ways, Facebook, or, you know, social media, TV shows, movies. There's plenty of ways to escape. You can even use meditation as a way to escape, which, you know, you have to be mindful of, that it can become an escape from life rather than jumping right into it. So courageous because it's hard, but intimacy because we're trying to really get to know. Grief is like this. And the thing that I always like to say with my little nerdy neural saying, you know, neurobiology, whatever. I'm not a neuroscientist, but so, you know, now I'm going to forget it because the neurons that fire together wire together. So that's my little nerdy neuroscientist statement. But what I like to do, so let's just use grief for example. First, I like to come into it, and I allow it to be there. Okay, like it comes knocking, like you feel it coming. You're like, so you let it be there. I like hand to the heart. If you feel things in other places, your stomach, or you can put your hands other places, but I just like, you know, 1 or 2 hands to the heart, and for maybe just a minute or two, I allow it to be as intense and as scary and as it can feel however it wants. And I say, you can be here. You know, and it just might be as simple as saying grief is like this, and say, okay, you can be here. Sometimes it feels this way. So that's the first step, is like, allow yourself to come into it, allow yourself to fully experience it as it is in the body. So that's the important part, is we're coming back to, where does the grief live? Okay, and it's my heart. Let me bring my hands there, bring some warmth there. Let me feel it. Let me hold it. And then we soften around it. So we go into it consciously. We start to allow ourselves to feel it. And then we soften what we can. Maybe we can't relax our shoulders right now, so you relax your hands. You relax your jaw. You deepen your breath. And you're just teaching your nervous system to not go into fight or flight because you're feeling something overwhelming. So you're teaching it to stay stable, to stay relaxed, feel it. And then, this is why I say this little neuroscience thing. Then we think of all the other people in the world. Since human beings have been alive, and even animals, I mean, they grieve as well, but we'll just stick with humans for now. But since humans have been alive, they've experienced loss. People now are experiencing loss. People in the future are going to experience loss. So all the grief, you know, could fill oceans, right? The tears of the grief of all beings, all human beings on this planet, that we've all experienced. So you let your mind expand a little bit, and you say, okay, you know, grief is like this. You start relaxing, and then you realize, you know, it's not just you, and it's not as personal as it is. It's also impersonal in the sense that this is what happens, and this is something everyone, not just like you guys and not them and not me. We all have to go through it. That's the one guarantee, right? Impermanence. that things come to an end. Or maybe it's better to say things change. Because things don't just end and disappear. I think things change. So it's different and it's painful, but this is a part of our humanity. So we allow our hearts to open and we realize, we go from I am suffering to there is suffering. And we might even be alone, but we're not alone because we're connecting with all the people right now who have lost loved ones. And we can remember that we're all kind of experiencing this. And then you send out that wish. And if you have a higher power, you can make it a prayer. If you don't have a higher power, you can just send out a wish. May all people who are grieving, including myself right now, find some ease, find some, solace, find a moment of peace. And then, once you do that, take a breath or two, and then you get on with what you're doing, whether that's going for a walk, cooking dinner, or whatever. But you're taking something that would normally be terrible and would cause you havoc, and now you're making it a spiritual practice. You're teaching your mind to trigger compassion when you feel unpleasant, and that's just going to soften you, and that's going to make you more loving and compassionate. And not that in a moment of grief, you don't really care how you're going to help people. It's just like, oh, this sucks, and I want it to be gone. But when you start cultivating that mind of compassion, one, you become better at holding it and experiencing it. You consciously go into it. You're creating a mind that wants to reach out and help others. And then when you meet somebody who's grieving, because you've known it, because you've consciously gone into it, you can then be of use for that because you're not afraid of your own. And if you see people, especially people who are grieving or get diagnosed with an illness or something, you'll see all different kinds of people. And every one of those people, it will show you how they relate to their own struggles. So you have the one friend that disappears, right? You ever have that one where something really bad happens and then they're just gone, right? Too painful. I know when my grandfather was in hospice at home, there were some family members that just couldn't handle it. They just didn't show up. And I think that's the most important time to show up. But again, everyone's at their own, it's not like I'm condemning that. Everybody's in their own place. But then you'll have the people that try to do the the toxic positivity stuff, which is like, oh, it's going to be fine. It's like, no, I have terminal cancer. It's not going to be fine. Like, stop. Like, just, but they can't stand to feel that. So they want to just let's go out for a drink. Stop thinking about it. And there's a time for that. I think there is a time to distract yourself and go for a drink or do whatever. Unless you're an alcoholic, then please don't. But there is a time for distraction and there's a time to consciously go into it. But if you can learn to be with your suffering, then you can be with the suffering of other people, and it can make a tremendous difference. Because if this person's not showing up and this person's trying to make you laugh and make everything happy when it's not, then you can come along and just sit with that person and say, I don't know what to do, but I'll sit here with you. I don't know what's next, but we can go for a walk. I know you're in pain. I'll be in pain with you. And that, from my experience, that's more powerful than some cheesy quote or giving them this or that, whatever, is to just be like, here I am. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not afraid, and I'm not going anywhere. And that's powerful. But that comes from doing it with yourself and being able to say, I'm not afraid and I'm not going anywhere. And then you allow yourself to feel. And what you'll find, again, these aren't guarantees, but what usually happens is when you're not resisting these things, they can come and go more freely. And it's less sticky. You get less involved with neurotic means of escape, right? Because what is your mind trying to do when it gets a drink or when it's acting out or when it's numbing out? It's trying to not feel something. So if you consciously allow yourself to feel something and get used to that unpleasant feeling, then your mind's going to stop trying so hard to get away from it because it's going to realize, oh, this is unpleasant, but it's not it's not unworkable. It is workable, and I can be with this. And it does hit a peak, and then it goes the other way. It has to. Impermanence. That's why I always talk about impermanence. Every Monday night class I do on Facebook, I say, "Oh, Monday again," and I have this whole talk. I have the same talk on impermanence every week. It's already Monday. It's getting dark out. Didn't we just meet? So I say, impermanence. I keep reminding people, one day less. You're getting closer. What are you doing with your life? It's the same cheesy talk I give every. It's so awkward too, because I'm just talking to a computer. I just feel so weird. I'm in my room and making stupid jokes that probably I only think is funny. But so that's just want to make sure Haresh is not saying anything. So actually, this is why I love the sharing, because I had another idea for the talk, but then the sharing is so important, I think, because it really gives me an idea where you're at, and from that, like, spontaneous stuff rises out of the void in my brain. But I wanted to read you guys what I think is a really powerful poem that in the 4-week training, this guy, Koshin, he read it, and I'm going to read it. We'll let it just resonate for a second. I'm going to tell you what I feel about it. And then after we do the meditation, we can open it up for like 5 or 10 minutes if anyone wants to share. Because I tend to talk a lot, and I want to get to the meditation. It's more important, I think. So this is from, I guess it's a poem called The Spell by Marie Howe, I guess, Howe. Here we go. Every day when I pick up my 4-year-old daughter from preschool, she climbs into her back booster seat and says, "Mom, tell me your story." And almost every day I tell her I dropped you off, I taught my class, I ate a tuna fish sandwich, wrote emails, returned phone calls, talked with students, and then I came to pick you up. And almost every day I think, my God, is that what I did? Yesterday, she climbed into the back seat and said, "Mom, tell me your story." And I did what I always did. I said I dropped you off, taught my class, had lunch, returned emails, talked with students. And she said, "No, Mom, tell me the whole thing." And I said, "Okay, I feel a little sad." And she said, "Tell me the whole thing, Mom." And I said, "Okay, Elise died. Elise is dead and the world feels weary and brokenhearted." And she said, "Tell me the whole thing, Mom." And I said, "In my dream last night, I felt my life building up around me. And when I stepped forward and away from it and turned around, I saw a high and frozen crested wave." And she said, "The whole thing, Mom." Then I thought of the other dream, I said, when a goose landed heavily on my head, but when I'd untangled it from my hair, I saw it wasn't a goose, but a winged serpent writhing up into the sky like a disappearing bee. And she said, "Tell me the whole story." And I said, "Elise is dead and all the frozen tears are mine, of course. And if that wave broke, it might wash my life clear. And I might begin again from now and from here." And I looked into the rearview mirror. She was looking sideways out the window to the right, where they say the unlived life is. "Okay," I said. And she said, "Okay," still looking in that direction. Whew. I feel like it's beyond words. There's so much in there, but what rings into my heart is, tell me the whole thing. And I think our practice of meditation is like us sitting down and asking our hearts and minds, "Lord, tell me the whole thing. Tell me the whole thing." And really opening up and allowing ourselves to just be what we are in that moment. It might be a moment of joy. It might be a moment of grief. It might be a moment of boredom, restlessness, worry, sickness. But that we have the freedom to do that. And now you guys know you can, because you can. I'm not, it's not like some trick. It's just right now you can feel what's going on in your body. You feel if there's a tightness. You can feel if there's an openness. You know what's going on in your mind. If it's open and quiet, if it's busy and distracted, you can be aware of it. And if you could be aware of it, then you could stop fighting it for a moment and just say, oh, things are like this. This is the whole story. And we get so caught in meditation with like wanting to feel a certain way or wanting our suffering to go away. And I get why we want that, but that's not reality. That's not the whole thing. Being happy all the time is not the whole thing. Grieving all the time is not the whole thing either. So to be able to sit with ourselves, to open up and just say, tell me all of it. Like, and just taking, whether it's 5, 10, 20, 30, whatever you can muster the courage up to do, to just sit there and to find out. Ask your heart and mind. I say it's like an open mic night when you sit in meditation. Yes, you might have an object, like maybe you're counting your breath or repeating a mantra or focusing on a candle or something like that. I would say put partial attention on that. Let that be the anchor in the moment. So you're throwing the anchor over the ship so that if it goes this way, it comes back. If it goes too far this way. That's what the object is for. You want enough attention so that you don't just drift off into la la land. And if you do, you just come right back to the anchor. But you just need enough, and I guess there's going to be debates, I guess, in the Buddhist world about this, but it doesn't matter for us, about how much concentration we need. But I think for the average layperson, like you and I, you need just enough attention so that you can be there and not get swept away, which is a practice in and of itself. And the practice is getting swept away and coming back over and over and over and over again. It's not about not being swept away. It's just realizing you're swept away and coming back. And over time, you get swept away less and less. And not always. Sometimes you just have a really bad day. Everything's falling apart. It sucks. And you just get swept away the whole time. So, it's just a moment, and you just come back. Man, I freaked the hell out the other day. Like, all right, you freaked out. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes you get caught. Sometimes you get stuck. Like, we can have that kind of unconditional friendliness with ourselves. We don't have to beat ourselves up. We don't have to have this high standard. I'm not saying don't go in a direction, right? You can have the intentions and the direction, but screwed up, well, you just go apologize. And if they don't like it, well, that's in their court now, and I'm not saying we don't deal with consequences. We do with what we say and do. So be mindful. But when you're not, just get back to being mindful as quickly as possible, and plant whatever seeds you can to make that mess be a little less messy. And then there's this other part of this poem that gets me, is the girl looking out the window, and I keep going back and forth with that. Part of me, you know what, and it's kind of like in my classes, when I look at the people in my classes, they all have the same look. And it can be, and the look can be one of two things. What the hell is this guy talking about? Or a moment of deep contemplation. They both look the same. And that's like with the ending of this poem, what I keep going back and forth, the little girl looking out the window, was it too much? And we are, and we're all the people in the story, we're also the girl. Sometimes we need to look out the window to the right where the unlived life is and just disconnect for a second, because it's really difficult. The sobering truths, the sobering reality is not always, it's not just, that's why I say I'm never filling stadiums, because I talk about sobering realities all the time. And people don't want to hear that. They want to hear you can manifest anything if you just believe and meditate. And that's going to be a whole nother talk. I'm not going to get that. I went on a tangent last night. By the way, if you don't have Facebook and you miss my talks, you can't make it, I send them out. And they work, right, when you watch them. So I send them out every Monday after the class. And then like next Monday, I'll send out that, and I'll send out this. I put this up on YouTube, and I send out a link for that. So there's always ways to access it. But yeah, so was that little girl looking out because it was too much, or was she looking out because she felt something, she was feeling deeply in that moment and just going kind of beyond words? So I guess it's a little open to interpretation, but I would like to hear afterwards any thoughts on that, but maybe we should allow ourselves to sit and we can sit together with the whole thing. So let's get comfortable as you can get. Let me get my timer here. Phones off. Okay, so hands on the knees or resting in the lap. Sit up tall. Close the eyes. We'll start with the sound of the bell. So just 3 hits. Hear the sound come, hear the sound go. Let it remind you of everything in this life, coming and going. We start off today with 3 really deep cleansing breaths. So just taking a nice deep inhale through the nose and just slowly out the mouth. Almost let out a whispery ha. So breathing in again, filling completely, and then out. Last one, biggest breath of the day. I just want you to let go. Allow the breathing to settle in to a natural pace, but a little deeper. You want to feel the belly expand a little bit. Each breath. You can go back to in and out of the nose. For a moment, just feeling the breath going in and out. Again, very similar to the bell, coming and going. Rising and ceasing. Cycle of change. Moment by moment. Just allow yourself to feel even just one breath from start to finish, going in through the nose, down the throat, into the lungs, expanding the belly, and slowly releasing out. Breath can be our starting point. The breath can be the anchor into the moment. Can't breathe in the past. Can't breathe in the future. Breath is now. You feel yourself breathing. If you know you're breathing in, you know you're breathing out, then you're right here in this room. Right? With your actual life here and now. and without losing touch with that breath. Let your attention expand a little bit to include everything. So the breath is just a gentle anchor. Keeping you right here, but the awareness is spacious and open, receptively receiving whatever is happening in this moment. Allowing every sensation, every sound, every emotion, every thought, all of it like the bell, rising, sustaining for some time, and then ceasing. Just start to get that sense of being with the constant change. Seeing that nothing is stuck or frozen. And dropping into, and at the same time holding the flow where it's at right now. If it's difficult in this moment, then bringing some extra compassion and warmth, as if you were hugging a child who is upset or sad. And with whatever you're feeling, we have this breath that's a little deeper than usual, but we also want to soften. Soften our body. Even if there's any contractions in our mind, in our hearts, even in our body, we can still soften in other places. So see where you can soften. Go through the body. Relax the forehead and eyebrows. Have the eyes gently shut. Soften the face and the jaw. Separate the teeth if they're touching. Drop the shoulders. Soften the chest, especially that center of the chest. An emotional softening as well. Relax the belly so the breath can be deep. Relax the hips. Make sure you're not holding your legs up. Let the feet be flat. As we sit here, gently focusing on the breath, receiving the entire moment exactly the way it is. Every once in a while, we can drop in that little saying from the poem. Tell me the whole thing. You can think of those words like dropping a tea bag in hot water, just letting it steep. in your heart, in your mind, in your body. You hear the patterns of holding in my body, patterns of emotion in my heart, the patterns of thinking in my mind. Tell me the whole story. Tell me the whole thing. And just notice when your mind starts maybe contracting around something. You don't need to feel bad. It's not like you're choosing to do it, but something feels, sounds, or whatever unpleasant, and that brings a sense of contraction. You just hold it. Contractions like this. Somebody starts honking outside and your mind starts getting mad at frustrations like this. We're just looking at it. We're observing it. We're getting to know it. We're becoming intimate with the experiences that we have moment to moment. And the mental noting is very helpful. So if you feel your mind is extremely busy, it's planning, just planning mind. Give it a little label. Something's really distracting you, just label it. Achy knee. Not as a way to turn it off, but just as a way to just, okay, I see you. You can be here too. And soften into it. We don't have to live our lives holding on to pleasant and pushing away unpleasant. It doesn't work, by the way. We can learn to open to all of it. As we sit here, we learn to hold all the 10,000 joys and sorrows of our lives. They come, they go. The more we see this coming and going, the more we realize that our true self is that which knows. That loving awareness underneath. We can start living from that. We'll invite a sense of ease. Allow yourself to just be authentic for a moment. Allow your body to be as it is. Allow your mind to be as it is. Allow your heart, your emotions, your mood. Throw out the ideas of positive and negative, right and wrong, should and shouldn't. Those labels don't really matter. Throw them away. Just this. Just sitting, just breathing, just feeling, just hearing. Relief doesn't come from feeling a certain way, but just from letting go. Let go. The heart can be burdened, the mind, or rather, the heart can be burdened, the body can be ill, but the mind can be free. As we sit here, we don't need to cultivate freedom, we just need to go back to it. Just let go and it's there. Every so often, just really checking in with your attention, also checking in with your posture, just making sure you're not too relaxed and you're beginning to slouch, get hazy and sleepy. So upright and relaxed. Here in this room, breathing, feeling, hearing. Really just keep getting distracted. The labeling doesn't help. And just focus a little more intently on the sensations of the breath. Pretty easy to feel at the tips of the nostrils, or even just the movement of the belly. But if your attention is pretty clear, then just a gentle attention on the breath and then sitting in that open, spacious awareness. The moment I'll hit the bell one more time. Really just try to hear the sound and follow it back to the silence. Here we go. Here we can take a deep breath together, breathing in through the nose. Out. Slowly, you can just wiggle the fingers, the toes. And then opening slowly the eyes. Anyone have anything come up from that poem? We have a few minutes. Anyone wants to share? I did too. And I've read this a few times. I don't know why. It is. It's from something called The Spell by Marie Howe, Howe. When
Sometimes I don't know if I want to know the whole story. Or the whole.
right, and then that's when we're the little girl looking out the window. So I feel like it really captures so much.
Just always more. There will always be more.
Always more.
And you have to decide.
And then get back on the merry-go-round and then get off again. And it's just the cycle. Yeah.
That's what life is. You think it's anything else other than that?
And that's, you know, what I appreciate about being able to sit in front of you guys and have something consistent, because like I can't give up. You know, like I can't because I have to come here and I need to sit. And there may be times when I sit here and I'm a complete mess, but that's going to be, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But like you're saying, coming on.
It's funny how the mother didn't want to talk about it, but the little child coerced her into telling her. That kind of made me think about it.
She didn't have to do very much coercing. I think the mother was just waiting to ask.
Maybe she just
She
needed
didn't have
that.
to do that much
It's the
coercing.
wisdom of the child.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah, and again, that's our,
she got her to talk.
right. I didn't thought about that. So, that's why I love putting it out, because you get all these different takes on it. You know, the inner wisdom calling for our true, to be authentic. You know, the deeper meanings of these. Whenever you read a story, you're all the characters, you know. They're each like shows a part of your humanity.
I don't realize how much is stuffed down day after day.
Good to write it down, like when it's coming out, or just write down all your thoughts.
Yeah.
Back at it.
Oh, it's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, you know, we feel so disconnected and we're yearning for that just authentic connection. And the other half of this poem that I didn't get to, because again, I'll talk for days, is how are we meeting others? And can we meet others from that space? Not just, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good, thank you. How are you really doing? Tell me the whole thing. Not that you have to be everyone's therapist, but there's something about this practice and how when you start relating to your own stuff, people sense it unconsciously. So many people come up to me and I'll meet them and I'll find out their most traumatic stuff within like 3 minutes because they can just sense it, and that's how you can really help people. Again, I'm not saying you need to be burdened with hearing about people's trauma, but
Somebody's a safe haven.
yeah. So
We're safe with the children and let that be.
you're spacious enough to hold it, and you can get to that tender spot because you're not afraid of your own tender spot. And we have to remember that it's not just about us, this practice. That's important too, and that gets forgotten in the secular world of meditation. It's like, let's meditate to be successful and to make this business more money. And I mean, it's all good. I'd rather people practicing it than not. But we forget that it's to help others. You know, there's this, in Buddhism, there's something called the bodhisattva. Like, think of like Mother Teresa as a bodhisattva, somebody who lives to ease the suffering in the world. But there's one, in Chinese, it's Guanyin. In I guess, like the Indian name of that is Avalokiteshvara, and basically it's depicted sometimes as a man or a woman or kind of a man-woman thing, but it's got millions of arms, and it's the one who hears the cries of the world. It's just constantly reaching out.
Like, how did Mother Teresa do everything she did?
He just showed up and did it.
It's like, I can't even, like, I think about it.
And she,
it's like she did so much, and yet it's like, how did she like I'm exhausted. Like, how did she do everything? Like, how many hours? Like it's just amazing.
and she struggled with her faith. Not a lot of people know that she really had a hard time with, you know, God and that whole thing, but she still did it.
She still did it. 50 years
Yeah.
of like feeling alone, but yet she did everything for so many people, and like, I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's truly
And
amazing.
I think that can help you realize that there's something deeper. You don't have to have a God or whatever, but something deeper. You know, what we talk about, I think when we were doing our classes, absolute bodhicitta, which like the awakened heart, mind, whatever, but there's something beyond the ego that would get tired that you can connect with, that can hold it all, that can carry it all, that.
But how do you wake up the next day and do it again, like, and keep doing it? It's like, just like, it's like, I can't even,
Yeah.
it's
Intense.
just too much, yeah.
You don't have to be Mother Teresa, don't worry.
No, I'm not trying.
But how, you know, how
It's
can you
like,
just,
like I look, you know, I've been thinking about her a lot lately.
yeah,
And it's just like, it's just amazing me, like, she created all these like places for, you know, hospitals or whatnot, for charity, you know, for the poorest of the poor, and so many places. It's like, how did she get to every place and got the building and got the beds and got the people and got the food and got the medicine and got the, oh, it was just,
I'm sure she created things and people followed her
yeah,
and helped.
no, I know, I'm kind of thinking she's like, because, you know, she's getting, you know, she's like, at the end of the day, it's like, all right, there's no food, all right, let me go on, get some food now,
Yeah.
you know?
I think it's just bringing to
But I
the,
think that happened, the one, you know, where there was no food, and, you know, after a long day, she went out and got food and brought it back for the sisters and the people that were, you know, this is in the early beginnings.
right, not what you said.
Yeah. And it was just like, oh my God, and it's like, I don't know.
I think this practice gets you in touch with that other thing, whatever that is. You know, maybe we don't have to have a name.
Right.
There's something deeper that can give us that type of energy and give us that compassion. And I think it's our true nature. I believe that. I don't think we're inherently bad. I just think that we are bad because we're confused, because we perceive reality from a misperception of a small sense of self, and that's not the truth. It's not how things really are. But it's a very seductive and tricky perception that we're habituated towards. But it's not about being Mother Teresa, but using the current ingredients of your life, the current situations, and bringing something special and joyful and to that. And how can I ease people's suffering? And it might just be bringing donuts on Friday to work, or it might be bringing cupcakes to a meditation session, right? So you can make anything special.
But it's like being habitual, does that have anything to do with, meditations, like it change habits? Or?
Sure. Yeah, that's what I said. Neurons that fire together, wire together. So you can change the literal neural makeup of your brain by how you relate to what's happening. So just by being aware of thoughts, that's changing the brain, because normally they're just there and you're in them.
Because I feel like in life, it's so habitual. You do everything.
Right.
Get up, you have coffee. You just, it's like, how do you break these habits of?
You just do something different. It's literally that simple.
Yeah.
You just do something different.
That's what the weekend's for.
To sleep in.
I mean, we have this 5-day routine, and then there's the 2 days to take a break. If you're smart, you don't get that into a routine.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got for you guys tonight. But- yes, quick question.
Is there any benefit to meditating in total silence as opposed to like music in the background?
Good question. So listening to music or guided stuff versus silent. My rule of thumb is you don't want to get too attached, because you don't want like your practice to depend on something outside of yourself. But if it helps, and if that's the only way you're going to show up for now, that's fine. But think of it like a raft crossing a river. Like if it helps you get across, that's great. But then you don't want to carry the raft around for the rest of your life. Once you cross it. So you use it. But and then it could just be like use it and then don't use it or something like that. Like just make sure that it's kind of you're not getting too stuck or caught on it. All right.
What's your name on Facebook?
So it would be facebook.com and then / author Mark author like writer author AUTHOR and then my name Mark Van Buren. If you look up my name, you'll find me everywhere. Yeah, but my author page is where I do like the / author Mark Van Buren. Let me turn. Haresh, see you later. Bye, everybody.